everybody, are we here? Are we here? Testing, testing. Are we really here? Are we here? We are on Twitch. Yes, we are on Twitch. And we are on YouTube. Yay! Oh, hello, Stinger Flynn. Hey, hello, Mrs. Dadman Walking. Let me bring in the great Woopah Troopah because we have a story to tell you about Dadmanning it. How are you, my friend?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I don't know. Did you get a good laugh at that creative way to boomer the start of a show?
I did. I was laughing pretty well.
Well, folks, what happened was, I ended up hitting the countdown clock, looking at it, not seeing it on YouTube, not seeing it on Twitch, and then we were live, and it still said scheduled. Yet it was showtime. What's going on? Well, kept looking. I never hit the go live button. I've had times where I'm surprised the misses, and thank God we were in a good moment, hitting go live with no countdown. This time I did the opposite. We counted down with no live. Woopah, I think you've seen it all right now. You're a veteran of these streaming wars.
Yeah, hey, it's funny to see. I get amused.
Oh my gosh. Hey. All right. Well, good. Glad to see you though, Woopah. How's your day been though overall?
I'm happy it's over. Got to wear my pool holes jersey for work today and got to eat some hot dogs. By I was ruthlessly attacked by a ketchup bottle. I
Oh no.
was putting ketchup on my hot dog and it squirted at me and got stuff on my nice white jersey. So that's in the wash right now. But
Oh
other than
my
that, we're
gosh,
pretty good.
on a jersey?
Yeah, always the scary thing.
Oh my gosh. Was this like a work party or something?
Yeah, so just since it's opening day, we get our special kind of dress down days, I guess. I rather like we had before work from home as then every day's a dress down day, but can't have that anymore. So
Absolutely. Oh wow. That would make you sick though, having a nice white jersey, But then again, why is the opening day on Thursday? It should be Monday in Cincinnati. I don't know. I'm too traditional. So, but hey, we will see how this baseball season goes. Are you excited for baseball season?
yeah, I'm excited. I hope things don't get messed up. But so far, our game this year is pretty much so far it's been what we expected. We hit 5 runs in the first 4 innings off of a really good pitcher, but our pitcher gave up 5 runs in the first 4 innings, so it kind of balanced out, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. You think? Yeah, that doesn't make it so good, does it?
Yeah, well, that's kind of what we expected. At least the Cardinals going into the season. Our starting pitching was kind of not as good, but our offense looks really good. So, I guess we're confirming our own suspicions there.
Yep. I gotcha. Well, let's go ahead and say hello to people in the chat. We've actually got 6 people watching us right now. So we'll say hello to Stinger Flynn. Hey, welcome. First time I've seen you here. Welcome. Well, at that point, I was calling out to anybody to see if anybody was listening or if I had actually made the connection right. And that's why I was calling. And the missus said hello back. Why are you here? Well, because you're destined to be here. So, and thank you for whoever sent you. Hopefully you enjoy it. Check out the channel, the other videos and stuff, but sit back, leave a like, listen to some football talk. You got football questions, we're here for you. Let's have some fun, talk football, and hopefully you like things. Leave a sub, and as everybody's out there listening, we're up to 189 subs on the YouTube side, 11 more to get to 200. And and we're also on Twitch at 78. So hey, leave a like, a sub on the YouTube side, and leave a follow on the Twitter side. And let me give a shout out to the great Maddie's daddy, Steve Mitchum. I know, Dad. I know you, Steve. Not in the sports ball, but showing sport. Listen, Steve, that support means the world. The like, the support. Thank you, and I appreciate the support. Hey, maybe one time we can make football or any type of sports ball fun. You never know. I can make anything fun, or at least I can die trying. So anyway, but hey, when we've got and we have a few others probably lurking in the chat. So, but welcome everybody. Glad you're here with us tonight, and we are entering another week of the pro-ish football season, as we call it. What we're really doing, meaning by that, is we're talking about the XFL. Uh, I would not necessarily call it a new football league. It had actually been around in various forms over the years. The last was in 2020, but then we all know what happened back then, and it went underground and came back this year, I believe, right? We put this the first year.
Yeah, this is the first year back since COVID.
Yep. And so we're here talking football. Um, we'll see what happens. We're going to look at last week's games. We're going to look at the standings. We're going to look at the numbers. We're going to look forward to next week's games and, just talk some football. If you have football questions, whether they're XFL specific or not, leave them. We're here to answer your questions too the best we can. And we're just going to have some fun with football tonight and center around the XFL. Mm-hmm. All right. Woopah, before we get it started, with anything, do you have any other opening comments?
Nope, I'm ready to get into it.
Well, it's 7-Eleven. I've already boomered it once. Let's go ahead and get started before I boomer something else, my friend.
All right.
So I love that. I love the strike through Thursday. I really like that.
Very professional.
Yeah, exactly.
So here we are, ready for our football, and the first game we had of the week was, spoiler alert, probably the only close game of the week. We had the Sea Dragons on a 3-game winning streak versus the Orlando Guardians, who on a 5-game losing streak, and both the streaks continued. The interesting thing is we had Ben DiNucci come out, did not have a great game, had low completion percentage, less than 10 yards per completion. Did have 2 passing touchdowns, but also an interception. Did have 6 carries for 43 yards. Both these quarterbacks had 43 yards rushing, interestingly enough. This rushing led the team. I believe their previous running back, who was doing very well, Morgan Ellison, is out with an injury right now because he was the lead back and had the first 100-yard rushing game in the XFL, but he did not take a single carry in this game, which is interesting to see. We had Blake Jackson. The Seattle has so many wide receivers that are pretty good. This time, Blake Jackson pulling up 79 yards and a touchdown, 6 catches. On the other side of the ball, excuse me, Quinnen Dormady, who got the start last week when they scored 32 points, got the start here. 24 of 44 isn't the best, but did have 243 yards, had some 43 yards on the ground. No turnovers, which it's interesting. He did pretty good overall. And the big news is Devin Darrington, who did not get the start in this game, but I think ended up as the workhorse back, had 82 rushing yards on 7 carries, plus 13 yards on a catch. He did have a fumble, but had 2 rushing touchdowns. So he did pretty good there. And you have here on defense, I picked Antoine Brooks. He had 10 total tackles, including the forced fumble. And the kicking side, Jose Borreg, I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry. He hit both of his
Borregales.
Mm-hmm. He hit both of his field goals, including a 50-yarder. So he helped keep that team in the game there, which is pretty good. So,
yeah, this is this poor Orlando. You just look at it and they're just, what's sad is that they were actually close this week.
Yeah, they've been close, 1-score games the last 2 weeks. So this is, I would say it's probably too late at this point. They're 0-6. They'd need, they're not officially eliminated yet, but they'd need a small miracle to make the playoffs. But
almost everybody else lose out and they win out just about looking at the standings. So,
but they have been playing a lot better these last 2 weeks. And they made a QB change and now made a running back change, and both of them seem to be paying off.
Yeah, those are really productive numbers as far as this league goes. I mean, Dormady was still not the best passing completion, but he's at least 10 yards of completion. Darrington actually ran for almost 100 yards. That's hard to find a lot of times in this
Yeah,
league.
over 10 yards per carry is pretty
Yep.
wild.
Yep. And of course, the kicker is 2 for 2, so that's even better. I mean, there's a lot of positives that Orlando had this week,
Yeah,
which is
and
sad that they lost a game this close and another home game. But you know, you just wonder why they can't turn the corner with that. But overall, when you look at their standings in 6 games, 100 points, that's roughly 16 points a game. So they're a little bit above average this week. But still, it's hard to win games when you can't score.
oh yeah, no, this is very true. Their offense has not been the best, and I think it's sad that you look at this 19 points and we say this is they've been an improved offense of late.
Oh, you know what? Wait a second. I'm sorry. I forgot to say hello to Starships of Greatness. I hope you're still here. I am so sorry if I forgot you earlier. Hope you're still here with us. Sorry, Woopah. The StreamYard had moved down on me and scrolling. I messed that up. But hey, hope you're still here and welcome, Starships of Greatness. Sorry, Woopah. Oh.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything to add.
No. I just was like, I panicked. Like, it's like, I hate missing people in the chat like that. So it's like, and that's all on me. So sorry. Hopefully Sorcerers of Greatness is still around, lurking or something. So, I tell you what, the Seattle team has really been interesting to watch. The first week against, first time I watched them when they played St. Louis, I thought they were a lot better, but it looks like they struggled again with a very bad Orlando team. And
did you say St.? I think you said St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Seattle.
Seattle played St. Louis. There was it the first or second week of the season? There was one
second week.
Okay, that's the first game that I watched.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it looked like they were going to win the game, and then we saw what happened with 4th and 15.
Yeah, so
that's like the interesting onside kick rules in the 4th.
Yeah, but this is I think Seattle, it's weird they've been heating up, but then they pull this game because they beat Houston's undefeated season last week, and now they won by 7 against Houston, who was the top team, and then they only win by 7 against the Guardians. That's very polar opposites.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, and as we see my chat is not scrolling. I've got to make sure I watch it. I really am upset that I missed Starships earlier.
We have Stunning and Brave Megatron.
Yes, we do. The People's Champion. I'm surprised he didn't say the Breakfast of Champions, but yes, welcome, Stunning. Glad to see you here. So, hey, yeah, this probably was a good game to watch. I mean, it was not normal. It was not, it's probably good scoring for this league, but actually both teams actually seem to move the ball a bit, but yeah, still 26-19. You did not expect this game to be that close,
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I just looked at some of the stats of some of the other teams. Orlando's actually scored more than several teams in the league.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I'm like, when you start to break down them, when functionally, the big problem Orlando's had has been on its defensive side of the ball, giving up almost 30 points a game. And they were a little bit under their average this week at 26, but still, when you can't score points, you can't be giving up 30 points a game in any league. So, Yep. And then Seattle's about 20. I guess about 21 points a game, a little bit above their average. So, it's this is a game that you didn't expect to be this close, but, you just keep wondering, will Orlando go undefeated or will they win a game? They are the league's only winless team so far this season.
No, it's very true.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, that was you said that was the best game of the week?
was the closest game of the week at the
Oh,
very least.
closest game of the week. Okay. All right. Well, we had one that we thought was going to be the best game of the week. That was very disappointing. Oh my gosh. I bet you were happy with this one.
This was a very good game for me. It's certainly not, I guess you could say for some people they might have been bored, just in the sense that what is it? It was not a close game, but the reason I like it because it was the Battlehawks played genuinely good football. The exception of one mistake that I'd chalk up to coaching. This was all very good. It wasn't a case of like one team's really bad. I know when we played Arlington, we won, but sometimes it's like we don't look very good. This team that we're playing just looks even worse. This was we dominated them, start to finish. A lot of great defensive drives, a lot of great offensive drives.
Yeah. You look at McCarron, actually 19 straight completions, 10 yards of completion.
19 straight completions is wild.
In any league, any league at any level of football, that's very difficult to do.
And Brian Hill, I keep putting him in. He's been amazing. I think he's definitely going to be in the NFL after this. 100 total yards. He had 14 carries for 71 rush yards and 4 catches for 29 receiving yards. He's been automatic. And in the end, the only time Vegas ever scored this touchdown that they had here was because our coach, for some reason, we were up 23-0. We were on like our 44 yard line, I want to say.
By the way, spoiler alert, we got a Woopah rant coming. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, not right now. I guess maybe a minor rant, but we got a few rants in this one. But
let's rant away, buddy.
We were on our own 44, not our own 44, the opposing 44. It was 4th down, 4th and 1. And we were leading 23-0. And instead of punt it or maybe like just try a field goal, crazy long field goal, we went for it. And guess what happened when we went for it? A guy got sacked, lost 5 yards. They got the ball starting pretty much at the 50-yard line, and that's their only score of the game. So like we're up by 23. At that point, the game's pretty much already won. But the only way that they win is if they score, get a quick stop, score, and then go for the 4th and 15. Why don't you just punt it, even if it's a short punt, because it's a short field? Like, just punt it and hope for the punt it and pin them deep. Even if you don't pin them particularly deep, anything is going to be better than starting them on the 50. It just didn't make any sense. This is the first year coaching. I think we could have pitched a shutout if not for that. But hey, in the end, great win. Team did well. That's not on the team. That's on the coach for some interesting play calling. Other than that, did great.
Well, let's take a look at that, especially if we got people out here that really like football and talk football. That is something, and I talked to you about it on Twitter about what I've noticed is the increasing trend of that occurring. That at all leagues, college, NFL, the other alternate pro leagues, people don't just coaches are going crazy with going for it, going for two. These ridiculous plays, they're going for it on 4th and inches, early in the game on their own side of the 50, like even inside the 25-yard line sometimes, and it's really, I think, a bad trend for football. I know we want to keep going. I know we want more offense and scoring, but sometimes you just have to, it is only 2 inches, but still, you punt the ball, play for another day. And when you have a 23-point lead, it's one thing to put a team away. Like if you're up like 10 and you want to put somebody away, that could be one thing. But you're up 20 points. All you need is to give that opponent a spark and a chance of hope. And then next thing you know, they get hot and they get hotter. And then next thing you know, you got a rally that you cannot even slow down. So I agree that's bad coaching on that part. But it's happening at all levels of football. College is bad. I know Florida Gators, our new coach last year, was kept going for 4th down on his own 35-yard line, 40-yard line times, and he got lucky a lot. But you can't guarantee that it's going to work out all the time.
Nah, and I think it's just, I can understand wanting to be a little more risky, and I think there's times where it makes sense. Like, hey, you want to go for it here. Uh, Sometimes think coaches can be a little bit, late in the game where it's like, hey, you got to get going. You got to try and make a play happen.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the luxury of waiting around. But in this case, when you're up by this much, I mean, really, the worst case scenario is exactly what happened. The best case scenario uh, is, you win. It's like when you're punting, like, I guess like the difference, the win probability for you, going for it on that fourth down can't really change much.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you're already very likely to win. They need a a few Hail Marys to come back in this game, but the best way to give them that Hail Mary is give them starting field position where they did. Like, just punt the ball. The punting rules in the XFL are a little different, so they could have been pinned at the 35, but yeah, they could have been pinned at the 35, but even then, 35 versus 50, that's a difference that I feel like it makes more sense to just tell them, hey, play it safe. When you're up 23-0, there's no reason to be risky. You've got the win in the bag. Some players, some teams like to get a little too cute with it when they shouldn't, like you said. So
yeah, exactly. Sometimes just keep your foot on the gas pedal. Don't ease up. Don't do something silly. Especially when you got a team like Vegas down, who's only had one win this year. If they struggle offensively, then why let them get back into the game? So
yeah. But in the end, I mean, their offense did pretty bad. Luis Perez was the starter for most of it. Had 99 yards on about 65% or 65% completion through 2 interceptions. They put Brett Hundley in this game. I don't know if he's going to be the starter next week, but he did take over at the end of this game. He didn't have many drives, so I didn't put him in. But then you had John Lovett was their main running back. 19 yards on 6 carries. He got bottled up, but he did. He was their leading receiver with 44 yards, which is not great. But
yeah, but only 6 carries. That, I mean, even St. Louis had 14 carries. It just,
well, I think a lot of that just comes down to, besides I think St. Louis. This is a annoying trend, but when they're going to score like this, I don't mind. Is St. Louis's first 2 possessions don't usually go anywhere, but after that, St. Louis was scored on every drive. So I think, I know they do have another running back who didn't do very much at all either. They kind of have a committee where we have a main guy, but Vegas pretty much from the start of the second quarter on was always playing from behind, so they had to play a lot of catch up.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that was a pretty easy win. I mean, the thing is, at least St. Louis took care of business, and it was a road game, so a lot of times just playing on the road can be difficult. At least it was a weaker team. So, with 4 weeks left in the season, we're going to look at the standings in a minute because we got a little bit of drama in this league in a couple of cases. So, all right, yeah, really good.
Next game.
Oh my gosh, this is a snooze fest.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks of this.
Because I've seen both of these teams. I've seen both of these teams play, and they've never been impressive. I mean, it's just, that's the thing is you like football, and that's what we call it, pro-ish football. But one of the things is, these scores are consistently low, and to me, I don't think that's good for the league long term. But one other point I'd like to point out to people that you've watched, and if you haven't commented or noticed, you keep seeing teams scores. The Vipers scored 6. The Arlington scores. That's not Arlington. We got a 15-9 game. Well, guess what? They don't have a lot of the 1 point extra points, because in this league you don't kick the extra point. You have to either go for a 1 point conversion at the 2-yard line, 2 point conversion at the 5-yard line, or a 3 point conversion from the 10-yard line. And So we don't see a lot of points there. That's why sometimes you're going to have a 9 or a 6 or something off what you normally see in a lot of football games. But it really, at least it was a close game, Whoopa.
So yeah, I guess you could say that.
It's so close that you had to put the kickers in. You put the
Oh,
kickers in, and not a quarterback, not a receiver,
well,
not a running back.
well, the kickers were the MVPs of this game. I don't know if you
Wow.
know, but there were a total of one offensive touchdown in this game. So
Oh my gosh, really?
yeah, so that touchdown came from I forget who. Uh, was not. They didn't have a very good production. I did put both the running backs in just because, well, they kind of carried this. Jacques Patrick started to get heat up a little bit. Didn't have a great start, but did have a good finish with 82 rushing yards on 15 carries. Devion Smith did pretty well. He was the leading receiver with 49 yards on 4 catches and the leading rusher with 42 yards on 10 carries. But Donald Payne had an interception in this one for the Renegades, and then Jordan Williams scored the only Renegades touchdown, which was a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Other than that, he's had 14 tackles, 3 of them for losses, so he had a pretty good day. Right. Yeah, the kickers. We had John Parker Romo went 3 for 3, with 2 of them being from 40 yards and hitting a 56 longest. So he's been the best kicker of the year so far.
That sounds like a Dallas Cowboy, Alabama quarterback or kicker.
John Parker Romo.
Yeah, you got Parker. You got a middle name like Parker and Romo at the end. So I don't know. Just it's kind of funny. Just that name got me a little bit. But like you said, 3 for 3 and 56 yards. Wow. Didn't know the kicker had that kind of leg. And then also Taylor Russolino kicked a 53 yarder.
And then missed a 36 yarder. So
yeah.
that was and that ended up being, I think, pretty important in the end.
Exactly.
I mean, look at the score, but yeah.
Let's say hello to Castle. Castle, thanks for coming in before homework. You'll be done soon, my friend. But thank you for coming through. Appreciate it. Make sure everybody you're out here like us on, leave a like and subscribe on the YouTube side. Follow us on Twitch. So we're just reviewing Week 6 results in the XFL, and there's not a lot to say at this game though. When you have to feature the defenses or the running, well, actually, I will say on a bright side, look at the running backs because, Devion Smith rushed for at least 4 yards of carry, but Josh Patrick, had a really productive day as far as running backs go in this league.
Yeah, and Devion Smith had some good catches, but that was a big thing. He was very useful. But do you want to talk about the quarterbacks? Because we can.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit real quick. But let me say hello to Liam Graywolf. Liam, hey buddy, welcome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here with us. So yeah.
So I did end up including the quarterbacks, but they were so bad I didn't want
to
pick someone else. So look at this.
Now this is the Woopah rant, right?
Yes, this is the
okay. We got a Woopah rant.
So let's say how not to manage your quarterbacks. First of all, look at these stats. You've got Jawan Pass, who got the start for the Brahmas, 8 for 14, 57 passing yards, 3 carries for 22 rushing yards. I can tell you, first of all, some of his passes looked real bad. He had some dead ducks. I'm looking, I've never thrown under pressure, but I have thrown football, in pickup games, and I can tell you, I'm like, I can throw a spiral better than that, and I can't throw much of a spiral.
Yep, I got you.
Then you had Kurt Benkert, who came in afterwards, 1 for 6. He played 1, 2, 3. He played 6 drives and went 1 for 6, 2 passing yards with an interception. He had 5 carries on 2 yards, so not much on there, and he had 1 fumble that was luckily recovered. That's pretty sad when that guy keeps getting put in. Then you had on the Arlington Renegades side, Kyle Sloter got the start, 6 for 13 for 22 passing yards. That had 1 carry for 1 yard. Then you had Drew Pillett, who had 10 for 16 passing yards, 163 passing yards. So probably the best quarterback of the bunch here, but still 1 touchdown, the only offensive touchdown of the game on a pretty good throw. It was a risky throw, but he did get an interception in the last drive and did lose a fumble. 3 carries for a -2 rushing yards, so not much on there. But look at this. This is what I wanted to highlight. Look at this game thrill. So I put the numbers next to the players so you could see. On the side, you start with Jawan pass for 2 possessions. Then they go, after they get a scoring drive here with a field goal, they put in Kurt Benkert. And this is when Jawan Pass got most of his yardage and completions, honestly. I don't understand how you're going to bench quarterback when he gets you a scoring drive. And this guy came in, he didn't do much of anything. I mean, look at his stat line. He didn't do much of anything at all the whole game. Then you put Jawan Pass in. He did have a pretty bad possession, but still you put in Kurt Benkert in for 2 more. He throws a pick. Or here you put Jawan Pass again, nothing happens. So you take Benkert out and back in. He quote unquote leads 2 field goal drives. I think you could look at his stats and you can safely say it wasn't him leading them, but
yeah,
it's just you're popping these guys in and out, especially when you see he has a field goal right here. And why are you taking out a guy after he leads a scoring drive? Doesn't make sense to me. And the Arlington side, I think you could say was even worse because you had number 10 Kyle Sloter. Started off 2 drives. Things weren't getting ready, so they benched him, which makes sense because he hadn't been doing good before that either. They put in Plitt. He has 2 drives. In this second drive here was the fumble for a touchdown, return for a touchdown. So they put Kyle Sloter back in. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I guess I can understand it. But he leads 2 more drives to go nowhere. So Drew Plitt comes in. Now you can see, look, leads a drive for a field goal and leads a drive for a touchdown. And then he gets benched for Kyle Sloter after 2 scoring drives, including the only touchdown of the game. He gets benched for the guy who hasn't done anything. And guess what? Nothing happens here. 2 drives where nothing happens. And then Drew Plitt comes back in, leads a pretty good drive, should have been a field goal, which would have tied it up at the time. And I think would have really helped, really changed how the game ended, considering, look, this would have been 12-12. This field goal would have been good, but, they kind of had to get a touchdown at this end drive, which led to an interception. On what I can say, it was a miscommunication. They were just in a hurry-up offense, and the wide receiver, basically, the wide receiver was on a straight route. The quarterback threw to his right, and the wide receiver went left. So it was just an easy, it was miscommunication there caused from hurry up offense. Not really Drew Plitt's fault, but he led here. You're looking at him. So yeah, he had the fumble for a touchdown, but he had led the only 2 scoring drives they had, and he got benched for it. And then he comes back out and he leads what should have been a scoring drive, but ended up not being it. And it's just, I don't understand what you're doing here with your quarterbacks. How do you expect anyone to get, to get a rhythm? I understand why they'd bench a guy if he's doing bad, especially because, this league is not the NFL. A lot of these quarterbacks, it's not like the NFL where you want to build, you want to show trust in a guy because most of these guys probably won't be on your team next year. They'll be either they'll get an NFL contract, or you probably say, well, that guy wasn't good, and move on. But at the same time, if you're gonna swap out players like this, in and out, no one's ever gonna get any momentum, and everyone's gonna be playing scared. And if a guy does well and then you bench him, what's the message there? What's he got to play for if he knows, hey, I did good, I deserve this role, and you're still benching me? What the heck? So It doesn't make sense.
Well, as somebody that's had to follow teams that had 2 quarterbacks, like the first time was Florida back in 96, 97. Yeah, 97, because it was the last game I watched with my dad. It was the 2 Spurrier pulled out a 2 quarterback system because he thought FSU was stealing signs. It was a big deal, so they flipped quarterbacks. It worked actually in that game, but a lot of times you might be able to get away with a game or here or there or something. But the old rule of thumb I think really applies, which is if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have at the end of the day, you really need to have one quarterback that controls your team, that's a leader, because everything revolves around him, timing and things like that. And that's why the NFL is so often not, slow to pull quarterbacks, is because that quarterback's taking like 90% of the snaps all week. That is the quarterback. They're not prepared to bench and play other players. And like in this case, it's like, I mean, multiples of these teams are pulling the quarterbacks out every game. It's almost like they're doing an all-star game where every quarterback plays. Um, so and then sometimes you see stats that are like, how did this guy play at any level? But the basic thing is, it goes with that thing you said about coaching earlier, going for it and forth down in your own, deep in your own territory, too early. Well, same thing here. These coaches outthink themselves, get too cute, and go with this thing of, well, we got to change quarterbacks, or we got to do this, or we got to do that, instead of letting the game flow to them and see what happens, and give sometimes a quarterback a chance to work out of something. See, both these quarterbacks only had 2 drives before they got pulled for whatever reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're barely getting a cup of coffee at that point. You're just getting in the flow of the games, and some players excel as the game goes on. As everybody gets tired, they pick up the pace, and
Yeah, and I think in the XFL it makes a little more sense to pull your coaches or pull your QBs than in like college and NFL, just because this is kind of the best of the rest, I guess. And you kind of, with only 10 games of the season, you got to know, like, hey, if it's not working, we got to make a change quick to make it work.
Yeah.
And especially with the Renegades, Kyle Sloter had back-to-back crappy performances. So you can understand why he's kind of on the hot seat. He messes up, put in the next guy. But with the Brahmas, both these guys, Benker and Pass, had not played yet, and they both got barely any leash. And they're not going to, you can't have one of those guys who has never started in this league before and give them these short spurts and expect things to go well. And even with the Renegades, you have a guy doing good, looks like he's on a groove, and then you take him out. That's not going to work out for you. You're going to kill all the momentum you had. You can't let a guy. You have to let a guy settle in for a bit. You can't just give him a couple drives and say, "Oh, we know he's not worth it."
You know what though, Woopah?
What?
It's like Arlington set it up for equal playing time, because you notice 2 for number 2 for number 10, 2 for number 9, 2 for number 10, 2 for number 9, 2 for number 10, 2 for number 9. It's almost like they programmed it to have each quarterback alternates 2 drives.
Maybe,
when you look at it.
I just don't think they were good enough for that, because there is a team we'll talk about shortly that has like a 2 QB system.
Yeah,
but they've been winning, and both of them have been playing. They're swapping out because both of them play well, and also both of them are kind of revolved out rushing. So it's kind of at that point almost like, hey, we want to keep the fresh legs.
Just needs somebody to hand off or run occasionally as we need it.
Yeah, so it's like that makes sense to a point, because it's like, hey, this is a game focused about the running game. We want the, whatever QB is playing well, and whatever QB, we don't want a QB out there who's kind of winded, because that's the whole point. But for these guys, neither of these guys are playing particularly well. And when they do, if you're just swapping them out, this doesn't make any sense to me. I think that's always a bad way of going about it.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, he is. Yes, it is. So, oh man, now this was going to be the highlight game of the week, but really the score was deceiving, and it was off. They ended up with a lot of points, but it was not as dramatic as you thought. It really wasn't that close of a game. You had the 2 best teams, from overall the best in each division facing off here. Houston went on the road, but they dropped a loss by 11 to DC Defenders. As I said, is that, it was expected to be a good game, very competitive, but I think it was like 37-20 late in the fourth quarter, and a late touchdown made it closer. So, this game was this game was really put away pretty early, because we saw this the other night when we were streaming on Monday about basketball. Um, so what do you think with this game though?
Yeah, it was a little odd. Uh, Definitely expected to be a lot closer, but DC kind of ran away with it, and actually ran away with it passing the ball. Look at Teamu and Lucky Jackson. You know how many passing touchdowns Teamu had going into this week and through 5 weeks?
One.
One exactly. So
Yeah.
he doubled his touchdowns.
And
Well,
I
he
saw
tripled
this.
them.
I watched this game with you. Yeah, for the people out there, this is a heavily running team. They could not throw the ball. The passing stats were embarrassing through the first 5 weeks, but they were hitting slant passes. They were hitting nice deep passes across the middle. Got two, at least I think two touchdown passes. So, it was just like, where did this team come from? This is not the same team that had been running like 3 yards in a cloud of dust through the first half of the season.
Yeah, no, this is a big change to how their game normally went. Uh, and they really picked them apart. I think they had a pick six as well in this game, so it's interesting to see how that'll go.
Huh.
Because they're often, yeah, I think they had some rushing touchdowns as well, but a lot of this was just, yeah, they picked them apart to the passing game, and it never was really close. I mean, look, Tamu had only 2 carries, and they went negative 4 yards, but that's shocking because usually, even on days he doesn't do well, he'll have a substantial number of carries. But the interesting thing here, um, the Houston Roughnecks, despite Brandon Silvers playing well for pretty much all of the year, he's been pretty good. I guess he didn't have a great game last week, but he still had a pretty solid one. He got benched. Another kind of weird. You could maybe say it worked out for him because Cole McDonald came in 8 for 11, 194 passing yards and a touchdown to go along with 6 carries for 37 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. So he certainly did really well. I was interested to see Brandon Silver's bench when he did really well through the first 4 weeks of the game, and he didn't have a great fifth game, but it wasn't a extremely bad game. So that was odd to me.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the biggest thing was watching this game and just seeing how different than it expected to than I expected it to be. What was the first horrendous thing was the god awful uniforms and helmets for Houston. Uh, One half white with the blue and the red split half on the other side. That was insanely bad. But DC, what really got me was the fact that DC threw the ball the way it did. I mean, they looked like they were a passing team, not this 3 yards in a cloud of dust thing.
Well, they did very well, which was shocking because they are
Yeah,
not a team that has done this all year. I mean, their QB stats have been pretty low consistently.
but you know what? In spite of us making fun of the offense with 3 yards in a cloud of dust and stuff, they are actually scoring nearly 30 points a game. They are actually, I think, the highest scoring team in the league. So it actually was very impressive. They did what they did. So I was looking at something here. I did a search image for the Houston. Let's see. It was something like this. I want to show something real quick.
Okay.
I show something like that. Oh shoot, that's what I'm not supposed to do it like that. Oh well. All right. Here. I don't know that this was the exact one that they used because it does look a little bit different. But look at that white, red, blue. It's like really. It really was something else.
And it was kind of those same colors, a little differently, but pretty much looked like that. It was pretty distracting. Yeah.
That was crazy. I will say that was painful to watch just from the uniforms. Wasn't a bad field. I think it was a soccer stadium.
Yeah, it looked like a soccer stadium to me as well.
I didn't realize that many Americans went to watch soccer at one time. So,
well, I think it's about 30,000 capacity, so it's less than a. Well, I don't know what that one is. I think that's most soccer stadiums. Like our St. Louis just had an MLS stadium, and they are about 24,000 seats,
Huh.
so a
Okay.
decent size.
Yeah.
For spring football,
Yeah,
it's about a good crowd size.
dude. I tell you what. I wish we had a team here. I'd go watch it. I don't care. So, are
Well,
you
the
ready for
close,
the standings?
yeah.
All right, we're gonna bring up. But go ahead.
I was gonna say your closest team to you is Orlando. I don't know if you'd enjoy that right now.
I'd enjoy the drive down there and the ride, and maybe a stay over at Mickey's place or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So with the win, DC over Houston, DC is stretching its overall league wide win. I mean, they're if you look league wide, they're still two up on everybody, but and definitely two up on everybody in the North.
Well, not only
There's
they're two up, but now with them winning at Seattle and they beat Seattle, they beat both one in Seattle. They won both games for St. Louis, and they won now versus Houston. They've got the tiebreaker on everyone as well.
yeah, but I think probably next week or the week after they could clinch, depending on how the games go. So, yeah, but
They
hey,
have a chance.
there is some drama though between St. Louis and Seattle though, because as we know, the two top teams in each division will make the playoffs. So at this point, record wise, St. Louis and Seattle are tied, and the Vipers of Vegas are bringing up the rear at a 1-5. So now, Whoopa, do you know what the tiebreaker situation is here with that, like with the current situation with Seattle and St. Louis?
So I know the first tiebreaker is just head to head. The second tiebreaker is division record. So, third one I think is the combined record of everyone you beat. So every time you win, you take that team's record and you add it up, and that's your
Right.
overall. So this could come down. St. Louis has their own destiny in the sense that they play Houston next week, which we'll talk about. But other than that, they play the Vipers and the Guardians, so bottom in each league, and then they play Seattle. So if they play Seattle and win that game, first they already beat Seattle once earlier in the year, so if they win that game again, they'll be 2-0. They'll have the tiebreaker no matter what. Whereas it gets a little iffy if St. Louis loses that game, it's not over. But then the head-to-head is a tie, so you go to the division record, which St. Louis has 2 games left in the division, and obviously if they lose to Seattle, it'll be 2-3. And Seattle has 3 games left in the division, so they'll play the Vipers once and DC once. So that's a little interesting, as well as Seattle does have Vegas to play again, but they also have DC to play again, and I believe Arlington and San Antonio. So they have a little bit of a tougher schedule than the Battlehawks, I'd say. But we'll see. I'm not really sure what to make of it.
Well,
I
there's
do know.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the South is gotten a little bit more interesting with, the Roughnecks now losing back-to-back games versus North Conference teams, and the Roughnecks and Brahmas splitting games, splitting their last 2 games against each other. Things look a little open there. Guardians are probably not as open there, but the Brahmas and the Renegades probably in a fight for that second seed. But the Renegades, if they put it together, could still jump the Houston Roughnecks now, only separated by 1 game.
Yeah, what I thought was interesting here is how the second and third place teams are now closer. But even though it's tightened up a little bit, Houston's still 4-0 in the division already with 2 more division games going. I mean, they're almost about cinched any type of a tiebreaker against everybody else in the division. And one thing of note too with Arlington, I mean, they may be 3-3, but it's a deceptive 3-3. They have actually only averaged about 13 points a game offensively, or scoring wise. Yet they're giving up Yeah, slightly more than that on defense. But here's the big differential: the point differential. They have given up 23 more points than they've scored, and that is odd for a team that's second in a division to be in the hole that much. So, and Houston's not even close. I mean, Houston's offense is so much more prolific in terms of scoring than either Arlington or San Antonio. So, it looks like it could be closer. You can chalk. So that means that Houston's played two of their uh, non-division opponents. So they only have two more left, but they also have two more games against people in the South. 4-0 already. You can see them starting at 6-2. It's going to be hard for either Arlington or San Antonio to catch them, I think. But you never know.
Yeah, sorry, I had to cough. Uh,
Oh, no problem.
yeah,
Understand
it's
that.
very interesting. I don't know which team is really to take. Both of those teams in the South, they have one game against the Roughnecks and one against the Guardians. So, and they've already
Yep.
played out theirs versus each other. So that division record could really come down to being the most important thing. And the North, I really think Week 9 matchup, Seattle goes to St. Louis to play the Battlehawks. I think that could be the overall deciding game of it there.
Yep.
So we'll see. I sure hope it's a win. It's going to be a big game. I'm going to be there, but it could really just be the deciding factor because with St. Louis getting St. Louis, I guess it's not a guaranteed thing. I shouldn't check them off yet, but it'd be pretty crazy if they don't beat the Vipers and the Guardians, especially with what we just saw them do to the Vipers this last week away. But so if they beat those two teams that are bottom in the division right now, and they beat Seattle, that's they clinch right there because no matter what Seattle does, if Seattle wins out but loses at St. Louis to St. Louis, they lose the tiebreaker. So,
yep, it'll be fun. That's what we got. 4 more weeks, so we'll see what happens. So then it'll be the playoffs. All right, so that's where everything stands at the moment, folks, and we will see what happens transpires. So we'll also come up looking at this week's action in a moment. So we got 5 people hanging out with us. Thank you all. Make sure you like and subscribe or follow on Twitch. And if you have any questions out there, throw them out in the chat. We love questions. So all right, Week 7 previews. Game starts. First game is Friday night, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern.
A little weird for a pro game, but whatever.
Everything's weird since ESPN took over college football. I remember one game on Thursday nights meant like 20-something years ago. And now you see what happened the Thursday and Friday nights for college football. Ugh. But hey, it was kind of neat at first. Having that Thursday game was like, hey, college football is here, almost here for the week. It was good to have, and you had some really good games. It didn't take long for that quality to drop off.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the stuff is not as fun. I wish they did kind of kept it unique. And I think it's silly for the XFL to keep doing it like this. I wish they just did the 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, but whatever. But
yep.
For this team, we've got the biggest thing is Ja'Cory Pearson still leads the league in passing yards. Ben DiNucci still leads the league in passing, and Ja'Cory Pearson leads in receiving yards. Ben DiNucci leads in passing yards. So they're kind of who to ride with this team. The Renegades, Devion Smith has been picking it up a little bit lately. The biggest thing is their defense. You have Donald Payne, who 48 total tackles with 3 tackles for a loss and interception, and also Willie Taylor, who has 3 sacks and 6 tackles for loss and a forced fumble in 5 games. Pretty good for him. Overall, Seattle coming in on a 4-game win streak, going to the Renegades. And the biggest thing to look at, I'll say, on DiNucci, he's struggled the last 3 weeks. 650 passing yards, still not bad, but below what he normally was. A 58% completion percentage is really dragged down
Yeah.
overall, and 4 touchdowns, but 5 interceptions. So,
Ugh.
that touchdown, a lot of his interceptions coming lately, and his touchdowns not coming as often. You see, he had 11 total. So, what's the math on that? 7 touchdowns in the first 3 games, only 4 in the next 3. So, overall, need some work on that. And
Yep.
but with the Renegades, I put their offensive offense. It's offensive to watch. They have through the year 6 games. They're averaging 1 touchdown a week, 1 offensive one, that is, because they have 2 defensive touchdowns. But so 6 touchdowns through 6 weeks. That's just awful. I mean, you can't keep up like that. Can't expect to win a lot like that. And considering one of their wins was a 10-9 game, and one of their wins they scored 2 defensive touchdowns. It's going to be tough to keep that up. I don't think they want to keep that up, but see, I would say Seattle probably has the edge on this. They've played better and coming in with a lot of momentum. But I think it depends. And, Ben DiNucci has struggled even against the Guardians, who don't seem to be a great team, at least defensively. And DiNucci struggled against them, did throw 2 touchdowns, but also an interception, and, didn't get much going in the passing game, was about 50%. So,
yeah, it seems like he's really struggled a lot lately, though.
Yeah, the Renegades have a very good defense. Their offense is putrid, but their defense is great. If Ben DiNucci keeps turning over the ball and, not getting his accuracy under control, that could be a pretty crazy game, especially with, I think, Morgan Ellison, their top rusher, is hurt. So, if he doesn't come back, that'll be tough.
Let me say hello to Tito out there. Thank you for coming through, Tito. Hey, back to you, and glad you're here with us.
Hello.
We've still got 6 people with us tonight. Hey, make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Check our channel out. All kinds of other stuff. We got football tonight. We had football last fall, college football. We're doing March Madness on Mondays. So if you like sports, there's plenty of sports. And if there's not sports, there's plenty of gaming and other shows that we've had recently. So including Wednesday night's, last night's detour with Mrs. Dadman, where we looked at a really cool fort. So, all right, Woopah. This game, like I said, this might be the better game, but this could be a really good game, though. Both these teams. Well, let's be honest, Arlington's expectations are below ground because the way their offense scores, you just don't expect much of anything. Question is, will Ben DiNucci play well, and will Seattle actually get back to a functioning offense itself? But hey, we'll have to see what happens. So you got offensive offense versus a quarterback that's like going down in flames. But hey,
so let's get to the next game, which will hopefully be a lot better. Maybe not.
Oh boy.
The 2-4 Brahmas go to the 1-5 Vegas team. The Vipers. I forgot the name for a second.
Wow.
So offensively, I think it'll be a story of 2 running backs, and Jack Patrick has taken over the role. I don't think Kalen Ballage was part of the starting, but he hasn't been great, and he didn't play last week. He could have left the team. That has happened. A couple of players have been told they lost the starting role, and they just leave the team.
Yeah. Let me say real quick, hello to Patrick Frostbeard. I think this is the first time I've seen you in the chat. Hey, I've seen you on Twitter, Patrick. But hey, Patrick. Welcome. And yes, we like questions. So if you have sports ball questions, we have answers, or we'll try to answer, or maybe we'll even fake it the best we can. But hey, glad you are here with us tonight. Make sure you hit that like button, and anybody, if you haven't subbed yet, let's sub, because we're 11 away from 200. Woohoo! And this is why I love having Woopah here. Woopah has a great knowledge of sports too, because you just hit the nail on the head with something, especially with these types of pro leagues. It's not like the NFL where you stay around even if you get chewed out or you lose your job. You stay there. It used to be that way in college too, but the point is, like you said there, these guys give up. There's no chance. They lose their job. They don't stay around because they don't want to get hurt or whatever. We used to see a lot of that in our local arena football league team. Anything that was considered minor league type of sports, if you lost your job, it's like, I'm not staying around for this crap. Risk
Mhm.
of injury. Risk of injury is probably the main thing, is because they'd rather go somewhere else, see if there's a chance to play somewhere else, and not risk getting hurt. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's a common thing that in these leagues, though, Whoopa.
Yeah, but Jack Patrick seems to have cemented the role. He is only at like just barely 4 yards to carry, but he's been doing better lately. Um, but their defense is pretty good. You see Jordan Williams, he's been a monster. Leads the league in tackles, and did have that defensive touchdown last week. And you have Delonte Scott, the defensive end, who has 4 sacks, 6 tackles for a loss, and 1 forced fumble.
Mm-hmm.
But he's matched otherwise. Maximilian Roberts, who has 5 sacks, 5 tackles for a loss, and 2 forced fumbles on the Vegas end. Vegas running back wise, I do know I forget who else their running back is. So this is on kind of a committee. 104 yards on 31 carries, not good. But you can see 206 yards on 10 catches and 2 touchdowns. He's been a pretty big threat in the air. Former Baylor guy. He wasn't
There you
particularly
go.
good at Baylor, but there are two Baylor running backs in this league. One of them is a lot better than the other, and this guy's not one of them.
Oh man,
but you have Jeff Badett, who his 5 receiving touchdowns lead the league. I think the winner is going to be decided kind of partly by defense, but partly by offense here. The Brahmas have now used 4 different QBs in the last 2 weeks. So they had Jack Cohn, Reed Sinnett play in week 5, and in week 6 they had their Jawan Pass and Kurt Benkert. So I have no idea who the heck the quarterback's going to be in this game, and they could go with a bunch of different ones. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be an interesting ride. I don't know. Who knows if who's going to play, and if they're even going to play well. Vegas is interesting in the sense that I also am not sure who's going to play. Brett Hundley came in earlier, but then apparently maybe got hurt, and we saw Luis Perez come back in, and he got the starting job. But last week he played pretty badly again and got benched for Brett Hundley. So I don't know who's going to start and how they're going to do. But despite that, they lead the league with 7 yards per attempt. And I added this in just for you, Dad, man, 11.5 yards per completion. That's the best in the league, which is surprising, again, for a team that I'm sitting here saying I don't know who's going to start this week, that they are leading in yards per attempt and yards per carry. Hey, that's something. So I don't know who's going to be it, but they can move the ball if they need to. Now, this is a pretty good Brahmas defense, so we'll see. But yeah.
Yep, exactly.
I'll tell you, for my predictions, I think the Vegas Vipers are going to win this one. But I just think the Brahmas QB are terrible. I don't know. We'll see. Sorry, I'm running out of things to say. This is not very good.
I know we had the rant earlier, but there's a lot of things that you can't say about a game like this, because it could actually be a good game. It could be a crap game. You just don't know which way it really goes. That makes it hard. I mean, like, you don't expect running backs to make it for a sexy, high-scoring game and all. You think your quarterbacks and your wide receivers. So, and folks, if y'all have any questions out here when we use lingo and terminology and stuff, stop us and let us know. Stop us and ask questions if you have them, because we're used to just saying stuff and running on. But if you have trouble figuring out what things are, let us know and we'll be happy to explain it. So, absolutely, that's what we're here for. the thing is, I think with this game is it depends on what quarterback. If the Vipers can get a quarterback, I mean,
Yeah, I think
the previous week the quarterback would play pretty well, but this week again it was not much production, and you know, it's not like though you're going to need a lot of production to do something with San Antonio because San Antonio really is only scoring 89 points a game, which is about just a little over. It's under 14 points a game. Vegas is actually outscoring them by, uh, let's see, by 20, uh, 23, 20, let's see, 22 points. Yeah, 22 points. So Vegas is averaging actually better about almost 20 points a game. Now, the problem is Vegas is giving up a lot of points, but see, San Antonio's not giving up a lot of points, but they're also not scoring points. So, which prevails, the bad defense or an anemic offense? You know,
yeah, it's tough to say. Yeah, both these guys have their struggles. Vegas sucks on defense. Seattle sucks on offense. Who I guess you could say, either who sucks less, somewhat,
there you go.
or
The
maybe it's
break.
who sucks more. I don't know. It's not very exciting, but it just really depends. Uh,
Absolutely.
this could be a good one. This could be a bad one. I think I
Yeah.
give the edge to Vegas just because aside from
Mm-hmm.
one game, the San Antonio offense has been bad all year. While
Yeah.
Vegas, they've had really good offensive games. Both their quarterbacks have each had good games. They've also I know Megatron. But both their quarterbacks, Hundley and Perez, have had both games. Now both have had
Mm-hmm.
some rough games too, but I think that we know that they can get it done. I don't know if we really know that the Brahmas can get it done. I will say
Absolutely.
though, the Brahmas, if this comes down to kicking, John Parker Romo has been by far the best kicker in this league. Multiple 50-yard field goals. The only time he ever missed was against St. Louis. He missed
Yep.
one kick versus St. Louis. I think it was his first kick of the year, actually. And other than that, he's been automatic ever since. He's very good.
Mm-hmm.
And in the league where up until this week we had multiple people kick 50-yard field goals. Before that, I think we only had him and maybe one other person. So
Yeah, the
that could be
kicking's not the strongest. This is not a league for kickers, but
yeah.
it seems to be the only way some team scores field goals.
Yeah, so if that happens with we've seen that happen the last 2
Mm-hmm.
weeks with the Brahmas, that could
Yep.
really be important in the end.
All right. All right. I think we've done about. We really dragged that one out, but hey,
Yeah,
that's okay. I liked your rant earlier. This is a game that probably is just another one that there's not much to talk about.
yeah. This one probably shouldn't matter much. I put it in. Maybe it'll be interesting because the Guardians have been heating up, averaging 25.5 points and 397 yards of offense in the last 2 games since they really switched to putting Devin Darrington in a lot more and put Quinton Dormady in. So maybe it's possible. Well, given the Guardians still lost both those games, but that's a much better offense than we've seen the rest of the year. So Dormady and Darrington, both kind of guys to watch. And you do have Cody Latimer here, who's been a pretty good wide receiver overall. But in the end, people I think everyone expects to win is DC, now 6-0. They are the away team, but you've got Jordan Teyamu. Not great quarterback stats, but they're getting better. 57.6% completion is, sadly a lot better than what it was. 902 passing yards. I think is 4th in the league, or maybe 5th in the league. Kind of shows you how the league's been going, but he's been pretty good on the
About
ground.
150 yards a game passing. So
He's kept the turnovers to a minimum. He does have 3 fumbles, but I mean, a lot of quarterbacks have that, keeping it with 1 interception as well. Even if he's been inaccurate, he's not making mistakes that the defense can capitalize on. At least that's pretty good. And you've got Lucky Jackson. He just about added 30% of his yards on last week. He's been a pretty good deep threat. Usually does a lot with a little. And Abram Smith, a lot of that rushing yards comes in one game, but he's kind of been a workhorse. I think he's the only running back with over 100 carries. So
And
Yeah.
that's how that team is designed, has been primarily running the ball with that number of carries, like you said.
Mhm.
But it was so funny last week with the game against Houston. They were throwing like Eric Coryell. They were you take your running gun offense. I mean, they were moving. They were hitting wide receivers. There were some nice passes by Tamu,
Oh
which
yeah.
was shocking. I
He
mean,
looked like he's his Battlehawks days. I'll say that because he was
uh,
pretty good for us, and he looked
mm-hmm.
much better this year, this
Well,
week.
yeah, it's just it was looking back at that game and then seeing how good DC was, and they really dismantled a Houston team.
Hmm.
DC's given up 100, has scored 170 points, but only given up 116 points. But Orlando has only scored 100 points, but has given up 178 points. So this probably will get ugly quickly. That if the DC team I saw last week shows up, I mean, I don't see this even being close because of just just looking at these two teams and the directions they're going. So
Yeah, I think you might see another high scoring game just because Guardians might be getting it together there, but I think DC in the end should do pretty well. They've got most
mm-hmm.
of their tests out of the way this year.
Yep. That
So
that's one of the historical advantages of having a tougher front schedule, is because then you get the cupcakes or the home games at the end. In
yeah, that's
case you
the
do have a
one.
slip up.
Yeah, that's the thing. DC, they play their next four matchups. They do play a tough matchup against Seattle, which it seems like a tough matchup right now. And they're going to be away for that game, but the rest of the games are the three lower teams in the South. Uh, so those all look like they could be, wins. It looks like if they take care of Seattle, they could win go 10-0. Another thing about the Battlehawks that I'm happy about is, we play this, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we close out with 3 home games and 2 of them being against the league's worst, so it should be good.
Ugh, yep.
But why don't
Hey,
we get to the Battlehawks?
go
Mention it.
ahead.
So
Absolutely.
this is the lone Sunday game, 2 p.m. at Houston. The Battlehawks go to take on the Roughnecks. This will be interesting. A couple weeks ago, I would have said this is going to be a real tough one for the Battlehawks to win, but now, who knows? AJ McCarron leads the league in passing touchdowns. He's second in yards, and I think he's first in completion percentage now that Ben DiNucci's kind of fallen apart.
Look at that. Look at that. They have 14 passing touchdowns. I mean, in the NFL, that's not a lot, but in this league, that's a lot considering how low the scoring is. But that is a
It's
lot.
it's not a
14 to
ton,
4.
but it is over 2 a game. So
Yeah.
he's been pretty consistent in that regard. Yeah, but we've also got Brian Hill. I forgot to put in he's only played 5 of the weeks, so look at these numbers and know that he missed a game. 326 rushing yards, 139 receiving touchdowns. Only 2 touchdowns. We have not used him in the red zone a lot. And we have LaCale London on a defensive tackle with 22 tackles. You don't see that. Maybe, forced 2 fumbles, 1.5 sacks. He's been a pretty big force on the game. We've had some good defensive players up front. For Houston, they have a bit of a quarterback controversy. Brandon Silvers pretty much took 100% of the snaps at QB for the first 5 weeks, but then got benched for Cole McDonald. I don't know who their starter is going to be because Cole McDonald, on one hand, Brandon Silvers played pretty well for his first 4 weeks. He was great. In the 5th week, he was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And last week he wasn't good. Cole McDonald came in and was excellent. Does he get the start over Brandon Silvers? I don't know.
Well, again, I'll go back to the old adage though, where if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none, and that causes turmoil, locker problems, communications with the line issues, that stuff. When you start to just jerking quarterbacks around, and really sometimes you do let a quarterback play through it, just so that you keep the dynamics of the offense all together. Now, the NFL, it's a lot more PR driven, I think, because you don't really want to bench the quarterback you're spending $20 million on, So, but Yeah, you just don't want to. You just don't want to waste the money where it's on somebody that, and that would be the NFL. That's why they don't bench the starters generally in this league. Yeah, paying everybody some probably pretty low salary. So then, yeah, that's what you do. So
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I don't know. I'm going to predict that the Battlehawks win because I want them to win, but I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. Houston coming off a two-loss streak. They have played some good teams, but still, the one thing that could be interesting because I think it helps the Battlehawks a lot is they average 5 more kick return yards than any other team. If you're looking at the difference between first and second for the Battlehawks for kick return yards, it's the difference between second and seventh. So they are significantly better than the rest of the league at kick
now
returns.
help us understand. Since you brought up kick returns as an issue, I can't remember the specific lines, but I know it's not your normal NFL kickoff. Basically, the two teams are separated by 5 yards. They cannot move till the ball's kicked. Um, is that kind of how it works, Woopah?
Yeah, they're 5 yards apart. The kicking team is at the 35. The return team is at the 30. And no one can move until the receiver touches the ball. So if it bounces, you can't move then. You have to wait till he picks it up. It's been interesting. It's starting to pick up. The returns are getting a little longer now. But specifically, St. Louis's Darius Shepard has been excellent at it. He's broken off a couple 70-plus yard returns and really gets you in great field position.
Yeah. And you didn't list him this week.
I didn't list him this week because there's a lot of players who are good.
Yeah.
And Hakeem Butler is really the number one wide receiver for this team right now. But yeah, he is a difference maker there. I figured putting the kickoff right there would be enough mention of him, but no, it's been interesting. He's helped a lot getting that good starting field position, getting that momentum. I think that could be a big difference in that game.
Yep. Return yardage can play a big role in many games and how it's decided. So,
yeah.
But yeah. All right.
So that's all the previews. We got a new slide to end things with, just because now every game matters. Hey. Every game always matters, but now every game really matters. We got the playoff implications here. So one team has a chance, DC, they have a chance to not just clinch the playoffs, but clinch the division. If they beat the Orlando Guardians, St. Louis loses to Houston, and Seattle loses to Arlington, they'll clinch that home field advantage in the semifinals. So that's pretty big. The interesting thing is, they'll go straight to clinching the division, considering St. Louis and Seattle are both tied. If they pass one, they'll pass both pretty much, and there you go. They are 5-0 in the division, so they have all the tiebreakers right now.
Yep.
But yeah, so if they win and Seattle and St. Louis both lose, they will have a Y next to their name next week for division clinch. And then for the for the less good sides here, we got two teams on the brink of elimination here. Vegas they will be eliminated if they lose versus San Antonio, and and St. Louis and Seattle both win their matchups. Then they will be out of the playoffs. So if they win, or if one of Seattle or St. Louis lose, they'll still be in contention, though unlikely.
Yeah, it's really hard to come back from 1-5 and 0-6.
Yeah,
no matter.
These are all. It's not like an either or. This is like all these conditions have to be met for it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have the Guardians here. They are the most likely, and almost I didn't notice. I thought because I figured, oh, I'll get to this later, but apparently this was the one thing that could happen last week if Houston. No, I don't think even if it mattered if Houston won. If they lost and the Renegades won, they would have been out. But this week, it is a matter of if they if they lose versus DC, which does seem likely, and if Arlington wins, they are out of the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yep, this is where it gets fun. All the drama, playoff positioning and seeding and everything else, or even making it eligible, kind of like March Madness too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's teams playing for their. We got the Vipers and the Guardians both playing for their life, and the Defenders. I guess they're just trying to put it away this week. They don't necessarily own their destiny yet. Well, I mean, they do, but they can't. If they win out, they're definitely going to win, but they can't put it away this week. They need some help from other teams to lose. But things are looking good for them right now.
Absolutely. No, that
That's
sometimes I think I say absolutely so much, kind of like in Princess Bride. Inconceivable. It's just,
inconceivable.
It's like I think I do say it sometimes. Like, Ray, that's too funny. But yeah, hey, yeah, a lot of stuff to come down to the wire. That's no matter what level of football, it's always good to see, and looking at all those potential, looking at all those potential possibilities. That is what's crazy, and leads to drama and leads to interest in everything. That's the human interest element of it. Is when people get eliminated, what's going to happen, and it like you said, every game is important. So, but yeah,
then it's nice to see that. I mean, this is week 7, but it's nice to see that there's a lot of play. There's a lot of reasons to still play football. It's not like we already know who's going to make it and who's really good.
And it's starting to warm up too.
Yeah.
So, yep. All right.
That's all I've got for the slides, at least. Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't think so. I just, can we go back to this week's matchups real quickly?
All right.
Game by game. I just take a look at them. So it's, this game might be the best of them. Okay. So okay. And who did you take in this game?
I'm taking Seattle.
I'll take Seattle too in this game. So then what's next?
Brahmas versus Vipers.
I'll take the Brahmas only because I don't want to,
I took the Vipers in this one, so.
And I could buy that. I mean, they've won a game even though they're at home. All it takes is get a struggling team on the road. Okay.
They're playing for they're playing for their life, so we'll see.
Absolutely.
This one I think is pretty easy.
Orlando. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Yeah. Don't even. Yeah, there's no doubt about that one. And then the last game is your baby, the Battlehawks and Houston. This one could be. I
think this should be the game of the week in theory. I don't know.
Theory.
I'm not sure. I would tell you, I'm taking the Battlehawks. Partly, I always take the Battlehawks, but also 3 or 4 weeks ago, I would have been like, "Ooh, I don't know, this is tough." But now it's like, well, I'm feeling more confident in the Battlehawks. I wish it was a home game, but
yeah, I know. At least you get to go see it. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to be contrary. I'm going to take Houston on this one. I mean, and mostly because they're at home.
How dare you?
I'm going to say because they're the home team. They'll get rid of those ugly uniforms and helmets that they had last week, and I think maybe the old AJ McCarron might show up. So hey,
maybe I'm going with the Battlehawks just because I think they've got they did a really good job offensively last week. Did pretty good defensively. They were actually getting to the quarterback, which they haven't been able to do all year. They've been able to pressure him, but not really get those sacks. And I think really with Houston having the QB controversy, like who do you go with this week? I think that might hurt them a lot, especially with, their defense has been slowing down a little bit, doing not as good. I don't know. Their running game has had back-to-back weeks where it can't get going too. So
Yep.
if their offense is drying up, what do they do?
Yep. So who knows? I mean, yeah, who knows what'll happen? We'll see and maybe watch this game Sunday at 2. I may be on the road back home, so I may miss it. So I probably am going to miss the best game to watch. But hey, well, I had to watch it later. You know how that goes. You know. Now, and guess what? We've got 9 people watching us. Hey, folks, make sure you smash that like button and follow us out over there on the Twitch side and like and subscribe to us on the YouTube side. If we need one more to get to 190 on the YouTube side, we're so close. Like I've been joking, like get your kids, get your neighbors, get your dog, get somebody, whoever to do whatever and say whatever. So, that type of thing. So, yeah, but most of all, love you guys staying here with us, hanging out. It's been a great chat. I mean, and seriously, we're here to answer your questions too. I know Patrick had talked about not knowing anything or what's going on, but that's what we're here for. We love talking football. And basketball. Our show on Monday night, which I'm about to tease a little bit. We love to talk sports in general. So if you have questions, we're here to help. Come and help us. Give us something to talk about. We'll answer your questions. Woopah's played a little bit. I played. You were mostly baseball, though, right?
Of what?
What sports did you play, or did you just kind of?
Oh, I played football.
You played
played
football
some
too.
Football.
Yeah.
I played 1 year of soccer. That's all I got.
Any
I never
basketball?
played. No, I was short. I was too short.
Well, I was short, but we're such a dork school anyway. We had a basketball team for a little bit, and I will say I made one Michael Jordan type shot that I wish it would have been recorded, but we didn't have those back then. And but I've officiated games over the years, which is definitely an interesting experience. Everybody wants some consistent and everything else and all that stuff. So, hey, you do what you got to do. But really, and that's kind of our background. So as you come with us, whether it's here on Friday nights with football, which we have a few more weeks. This is week 7 coming up. We'll have 3 more weeks of the regular season. Then we'll go into the playoffs. There'll be a break between weeks, I think, before the championship. So, but bring your questions. We love them. We will deal with them and all. And as I mentioned a moment ago, let me get this here, and you can make plans to join us Monday night also for more Monday Madness with Dad Man and Woopah Troopah at 7 p.m. on YouTube and Twitch. Folks, let's take a minute and just talk about this real quick. Woopah, would you say that this year is a year of madness in the men's NCAA tournament?
There's a lot of madness, I think you could say.
What was it? Was it a 9 of 5 and 2 threes, or
9 of 5 and 2 4s?
2 4s.
No, 9 2 5s and a 4. My bad.
9 2 5s and a 4. Guys, that is a really weird. That is madness. It's bad enough you have a 9 in there, but no 1, 2, or 3 seeds made the Final Four, and that has never happened. And it's hard enough to find a year where at least one of them doesn't make the Final Four. But it's one of those years. We have San Diego State playing Florida Atlantic, and the Cinderella story. Can the Owls keep going? So against San Diego State, who was never expected, and actually Woopah and I both agreed up front, we did not like San Diego State from the beginning. Whoop, hello. They took out Alabama and things. So, yes. Yeah, thanks, Patrick, for being here. Yeah, I know you got to go. Thank you. We're wrapping up too. But, yeah, look into it. Like I said, we're on Twitter, and, come back here. Join us Monday. We'll answer questions. If you got questions, if you even XFL or basketball, we'd love to take them. And then on the other side, we have the Miami and UConn. I mean, we both agree on UConn, but it's still kind of like I still think Miami could do something. You don't know, but hardworking 1, 2, and 4. They beat versus a team that had easy games and blew everybody out. So there's a lot of drama with Monday Madness. So make sure you make plans to join us Monday night at 7 also. Okay? Woopah, anything else that you got? Anything else you want to say to anybody that's here?
No, that's all. Subscribe to Woopah Troopah, but hopefully I'll see you on future streams of Dadman here.
Absolutely. Give me 1 second. Actually, you know what? Dang it. Dang it, dang it, dang it. I don't have, I hate when I don't have something lined up. So it's, there we go. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to bring this up because this is actually the standard stock screen. Oh, oh no, that was not good. I made it so super large, nobody would have seen it. So we're going to do this F11. We're going to bring it up here while I do something else real quick. Hey, give me the best way to keep up with us is anything Dadman Walking 55, whether it's YouTube or Twitch. That's where you go for it. Hit the bell on the YouTube side to get notifications when we go live. And join us for some of these things. Go back, look at the channel for some of the past productions and see what we've done on different things. And it's been fun. A lot of variety, not just all sports. There's plenty of things that are there, and yeah, you can obviously tell I'm multitasking. So, but it's fun. Oh, hey. Oh, thanks, Patrick. Thanks for the follow on Twitch. Appreciate it. Absolutely. Appreciate it. Okay. And I'm going to put this in the link for where you find Woopah. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel. Also, the best way to keep up to date with me, other than hitting that bell to get the notifications on YouTube, and also get the notifications on Twitch so when we go live, because I do random surprise stuff at times. And when I'm getting kind of antsy, I might just go and talk or play games. But the best way is keep up with me on Twitter at DadmanWalking55. So all the things is DadmanWalking55. So on that note, we will leave with 9 people watching us. And thank you so much for being here, for staying, for coming through, for lurking, for whatever you've done. It really makes us happy, and just a conversation with friends and stuff. As Patrick says, good night. Good night, y'all. Good night to you, Patrick. All right, Woopah, anything else before I say bye?
Nope, that's all. Happy to have you all here.
All right. And next week, we will probably have this show on Thursday again, with it being Easter weekend. So we'll put reminders out as the week goes on. All right. But on that note, everybody, you have a good evening or day or whatever it is, wherever you are. Thank you for being here, and you take care till next time. Bye.